In Activity 1, The Water Planet, students come to understand the ratio of land to water on the planet Earth. They first identify and compare the relative sizes of the 4 major oceans, and then record the information on a bar graph made from a paper ruler. You will need the following materials from the kit: Activity Sheet 1, Parts A and B, erasable markers blue, green, brown, black, and a standard ruler transparency. You will also need to provide pencils, crayons blue, green, brown, classroom globe, and a projector. To prepare for the activity, make a copy of Activity Sheet 1, Parts A and B, and the standard ruler transparency for each student. Make sure to have a classroom globe with physical features ready for students to look at during the activity. Each student will need a pencil and a copy of the standard ruler transparency. Each team of 2 will need 3 crayons, blue, green, and brown. You will also need the standard ruler transparency, a projector, and 4 erasable markers, blue, green, brown, and black. To begin the activity, place a globe where all students can see it and ask students, what is this globe a model of? Students should recognize the globe is a model of the Earth. Slowly turn the globe so that students can see all sides and ask, what do the brown areas on the globe represent? What do the blue areas represent? Students should identify the brown areas as land and the blue areas as water. Guide students to understand that about 3/4 of Earth's surface is covered by water, and that only about 1/4 of Earth's surface is land. Then brainstorm some ways to represent this information graphically. For example, students could represent the ratio of water to land in a table, a pie chart, or a bar graph. Next, set up a projector with a standard ruler transparency and divide the class into teams of 2. Distribute copies of Activity Sheet 1, Part A, and the standard ruler. Explain to the class that the entire length of the ruler, 12 inches, represents the surface area of Earth. Remind students that approximately 3/4, or 75%, of Earth's surface is covered by water. Then ask, how many inches is this on the ruler? Help students calculate that 3/4 of 12 inches is 9 inches. Instruct students to record the percentage and the measurement in inches in Table 1 at the top of their activity sheet. Color in 9 inches of the ruler with a blue crayon and label this section Water. Then ask students, what do the remaining 3 inches on the ruler represent? Students should identify the 3 inches as representative of the amount of Earth's surface covered by land. Have students record the percentage, 25%, and the inch measurement, 3 inches, in Table 1 on the activity sheet. They should color this section on their ruler brown and label it land. Next, ask students to name different bodies of water, such as lakes, ponds, rivers, and oceans. Ask students, how is ocean water different from the water in ponds, lakes, and rivers? Students should know that ocean water is salty, but the water in most other bodies is fresh or not salty. Some may also understand that a few lakes, such as the Great Salt Lake, are also salty, but that these salty lakes are rare. Inform students that while 75% of Earth's surface is covered with water, only about 4% is covered with fresh water. Therefore, most of the water is salty ocean water. Help students show the percentages on the ruler and record the inch measurements in the table. Instruct students to color over the half-inch closest to the brown land with a green crayon, making it darker, and label it fresh. Then label the lighter blue section salty. Distribute Activity Sheet 1, Part B, and allow students time to examine the globe again. Then find and read the names of the 4 major oceans and have students label their maps. Ask a volunteer to imagine that he or she is planning to sail around the world. Instruct the student to choose a starting point. Then trace with a finger the route he or she would follow. The student must end where he or she started and cannot go across land. When the student has finished, ask the class, what does this tell you about Earth's oceans? Inform students that the 4 main oceans are really part of one large body of water called the world ocean, and that the continents are like giant islands that break the world ocean into 4 main parts. Help students understand that there are no distinct boundaries between the oceans, as one ocean simply flows into the next. Next, have students look at their maps and the globe and compare the relative sizes of the 4 major oceans. Ask students, which ocean do you think is largest? It should be clear to the class that the Pacific Ocean is the largest. Next, assist students in representing the size of each of the world's oceans on a ruler. Start with the Pacific Ocean, which is composed of about 46%, a little less than half, of all the water on Earth. Then instruct students to draw a line at 4 1/8 inches and label this first section of their ruler Pacific. Tell students that the Atlantic Ocean is the second largest and makes up about 23% of all Earth's water. Have students draw a second line at 6 1/8 inches and label this section Atlantic. Next, introduce the Indian Ocean, which is a bit smaller than the Atlantic, and it makes up about 20.5% of Earth's water. Tell students to draw a third line at 8 inches and label this section Indian. Finally, inform students that the Arctic Ocean is the smallest part of the world ocean, and it is composed of a little less than 4% of all Earth's water. On the ruler, this is about 3/8 of an inch. Have students draw a fourth line at 8 3/8 inches and label this section Arctic. Instruct students to record all data in the table on their activity sheets. When students have finished, ask, what is the total number of inches represented by the 4 major oceans? Students should calculate that 8 3/8 inches represent the 4 major oceans. Then ask, is there any part of the saltwater section of your ruler that is not labeled? Students should see that 1/8 of an inch of the blue saltwater category is not accounted for. What do you think this very small section in the saltwater category represents? Explain that seas are regions of ocean water partly enclosed by land. Then tell students to label this section on their rulers, and ask for volunteers to locate several seas on the globe and label those bodies on their maps. Finally, inform students that in the next activity they are going to learn about the composition of ocean water. To conclude the activity, return the markers to the kit. For science background, reinforcement activities, curriculum connections, and information about the Delta Science Reader, please consult your DSM Teacher's Guide.